Hello and welcome to Hellbent Holler Live. My name is Jesse Doyle. This is my partner, husband, lover, Joseph Doyle. And we are incredibly happy to be here with you on this very hot, muggy, steamy Monday.
Indeed, so.
It was very steamy after last week's episode. I know everybody was pretty jazzed about that one that was here. That was one of our more strangely received episodes that we had based on our subject matter. But we are going to be a little less blue today. And we have a discussion today on Bigfoot and Dogman. Often we discuss one or the other. Rarely do we discuss them in tandem. But today we're going to discuss the possibility of Bigfoot and Dogman possibly coexisting or competing in the same territory.
Or combating one another.
Or combating, yeah.
Yep.
When we discussed this earlier today, we were talking about it. We're like, God, what are we going to call this? And Joe goes, it's like there's a war in the woods. And I thought, War of the Worlds. And I was like, all right. So I made that thumbnail. I was so jazzed about that thumbnail there. It's probably one of my favorite thumbnails I've ever made because, of course, I was always a big fan of War of the Worlds growing up. So now we can just throw some Dogman, throw some Bigfoot in there and watch what happens. We wanted to welcome anybody who is not familiar with the show and let you guys know this is what we do every Monday at 7:30 Eastern. It is pretty freeform. The chat just kind of goes. Make sure you kind of keep yourself in line a little bit. If you don't, we do have Lady Wolf on staff right there. She's the best mod in the business.
Best damn mod.
Best damn mod in the business, but we're pretty freeform. We take your questions as we go through the show, and we address most of the questions we get, unless we get absolutely slammed with a ton of people.
Yes, indeed, so.
Or a ton of terrible questions. But we, as always, we appreciate your super chats that come in through the course of the show, and we always hit those super chat questions every single time. Another thank you to our members. You guys received a video drop today. We had an interesting new experiment we are doing, and we dropped the video of that today. It was a solo adventure in the Blackthorn area with our very own Mr. Joe, filmed from his perspective. So I'm curious to see after the members watch that, what you guys think about that. And if you guys think that that's a cool concept and everything, I'm really excited to hear the feedback on that. And I look like the most hipsterest person.
You do like a cryptid hipster.
I am cryptid hipster today.
You got your hat. You got your glasses.
I got this hat on clearance, and I was so excited about it because it actually fits my tiny head, and I don't look like a gnome in it. Curtis Whitaker. Right out the gate.
Curtis Whitaker.
Curtis, don't hurt us. Right there. There you go.
Curtis,
thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Curtis never has a question with these.
Curtis just has faith in us, man.
Curtis is just here for it. He believes in it. Believes. I don't know why, but he does. He believes.
He believes. I don't know why, but he does.
We also, before we get into the subject today at hand, I have a lot of people asking me, when are we going to drop an investigation video for the general public? Well, it is after I finish this major project that I am working on. I am hard at work in the editing cave, working on this major project, and I'm ready to be done with it. But it is very important. It's very important to this project. It's very important to Hellbent Holler, and it's very important to the subject in general. We got some really insane evidence on this expedition that I'm editing right now, and it's going to blow you guys away. So I have been hard at work on that. It will be worth the wait, and I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy it. I'm excited for that to come out, but I have to slave away in the old editing cave until then.
Editing cave. Heather Moser popped in.
Hello, Heather.
Sending hugs to you both. Heather, I hope you were doing okay. All right. So I'm just kind of going through the chat right now. We're just in the saying hello to everybody phase. Again,
It's called the talking phase.
it's called the talking phase. We are not restricted by the topic tonight. we may not even get to the topic tonight. Yeah, we'll get to this topic.
We're not restricted by
We're
anything.
restricted by anything.
It's what being a wild card gets you.
So I did like I said, we released a point of view, like a first person point of view solo investigation video that I did until the heat got me. And if you hear me panting towards the end, it's like over 100 out there, man.
You know what we can do? I can actually play a little bit of that for the public. Would you be okay with that?
Can you do that?
I can.
Can you play where I come up on the? Can you play 2 clips from it?
I can find some clips and I'll play them for the public.
Can you play where I hear that thing? And I go up the side of
I don't exactly know where it's at in the video, but I know kind of where it's at in the video.
Yeah.
So,
but
I'll work on that while you.
I run into the mother of all spider webs. I mean, that spider web was so big and strong. I heard it rip as I walked through it, and I'd already picked up a couple of bites that day. I was slathered in like bug spray and sunscreen and everything like that, and I was sweating it off. As a matter of fact, if you watch that, you'll see that I've sweated through my pants. My arms looked like I had just gotten out of a pool just because I couldn't stay hydrated enough. But yeah, I ran into a spider web, and I generally, if I've got Jesse with me, we can check each other for like, spiders.
Although I always look forward to the tick check.
The tick check. But I did not have I didn't even have a check for me. So I had to stop and kind of get it off. And when we were putting the video in, I was just like, leave it. That's why I kind of warned people in the
So I have 2 sections I definitely want to play. I'll write down these things. You just go ahead and talk about.
Yeah, I left it on there. I did put a warning out though, just so everybody knew that there was a jump scare. So in case you were wearing headphones, I do scream at one point. Like I said, I was bit up, man. I just got annihilated out there, man. It was a rough thing. I found a clearing and tried to set up the Starlink unit because I had the portable version of the Starlink with me. And when I got out from underneath the shade of the trees, it was brutal, man. It was brutal. I mean, it was hot before, but then like the UV index had to be like, I don't know what. Like
was that audio early on or later on?
That audio is right before I get up into this. And
okay.
I don't know what it is. I don't hear, I'll get to that. But I tried to set up a Starlink, but it was so hot out and the sun was so bright. Everything was overheating. My camera, I just had one action cam. My camera was overheating. The battery bank that ran the Starlink, because I couldn't get the Starlink to work. And I'm going, well, it's not the Starlink because the Starlink is meant to be outdoors and like all weather all the time. That was the battery bank. The battery bank's black, and I guess it was just soaking up heat and it overheated. But
I think it's right about here because this is, yep, there we go. All right.
Yeah, audio is about 8 minutes, 20 seconds. But anyway, so I was having to use my camera sparingly because it was so freaking hot. And I kept getting warnings. I usually run my camera, my action cam, whether it's on my chest or wherever, off like external power. So that way I can just run it. And I couldn't run it off external power because the external power was making it heat up so much. So I was having to be kind of selective in what I filmed. And I'm walking down this old roadbed and I hear something. It sounds like wood on wood, like 2 pieces of wood hitting each other. So I hit play on hit record on my camera. I start recording and I'm like going, what did I just hear? Is there somebody over there? And I'm like, hello. And then there's some sort of weird, I don't know if it's like just wildlife, but it makes like a whoa, whoa, whoa kind of sound. And I go up there and I could never find what made the noise. So. All right.
All right.
What do you got?
I'm ready for you, my man.
Can you play it? So
I can. Whenever you're ready, we'll bring that up. So this is a video that we put out. It is in a point of view format. We're experimenting with point of view right now. I'm really excited about this, but we're experimenting with point of view format on these. And this is just solo expedition that Joe did. I'm sure he talked about it right here while I was doing all this. But just take a little look. See, this is a members exclusive. It is an hour long. The entire expedition video is an hour long, but I'm going to show you guys just some excerpts from it today. Let's go ahead and drop this.
Can you do this with like
what?
I'm watching. I don't know what the hell. All right, I guess you can. So all right.
So you're gonna hear the audio. Let's watch a little bit of this.
And like we've talked about pretty much ad nauseum, it brings a whole different level of danger to doing this stuff.
I don't know if it's
especially in these real thickly overgrown areas.
You guys want me to
pause
it real quick?
Yeah.
Let me know if this is playing. YouTube's going through a lot of changes right now, and it took like hours to upload just this small video. And I've noticed trying to play it back.
Bring it down a little bit in quality. Maybe that'll work.
YouTube is defaulting to like 360p.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube defaults to like play some of this stuff at like really low like image quality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go up higher in quality, like
it starts to just crash.
Crash and like lag. I don't know if anybody else is having
problems. Pork Chop is saying he sees it okay.
He sees it okay. It might just be me. So seeing it okay, it's playing. Okay, go ahead. It's just
like old sharp metal, which is sometimes being placed up in the trees, sometimes being kind of arranged on the ground, almost if something wants you to get tangled up in it. As far as like just sheer environmental danger, this is by far probably the worst place we've ever gone into before. Hello?
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that whoa, 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 like noise is. I heard it when I was there, and it doesn't sound like a bird. I don't know what it was. If anybody can identify that, if it's like regular wildlife.
And I can even back it up just a hair, and then let's take another little listen to it here.
Yeah, it just goes whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, let's just back it up to here and take a little listen. Go ahead.
I don't know what that is. It almost sounds. I don't know. I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It actually, I heard it when I was there, but it comes through better on the microphone than I anticipated. I was kind of shocked when I went through and was like reviewing the footage because it's just sounds like a wild hog.
So I'm marking some stuff here too.
But it's and other people are saying it sounds like a hog, but I went right up that hill. It's not there. You'd hear a wild hog move off.
Or I'd hope you would. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would hear, you're hearing me walk through the leaves. I don't know. It's weird. And I mean, wild hogs don't creep off. They haul butt off. You know what I'm saying? They like, you hear wild hogs going through the brush, stuff like that. But
a lot of people have been saying that their internet's been a bit wonky through the past couple of days. I wonder what's going on with it.
I don't know. So
sunspots.
So it
and I've got some stuff marked over here if we want to pop over here, and then we'll watch a little bit more of this, and then we'll pop back into the show. How does that sound?
That's fine. So Michael Tovar goes, when alone, do you see yourself watching your 6 more? Yeah, you try to. You have to be very careful moving in the Blackthorn area. And I show it in this. We have repeated this ad nauseum. There's just barbed wire, remnants of barbed wire from when that area was inhabited everywhere. And I don't understand why it was never removed. They were in the process of making this like a recreation area once upon a time. You can tell because we found remnants of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the first thing you do is cap off all these damn like wells and get rid of all the barbed wire and all that. Even if you had like people from the Forest Service or the state in there working to get this like ready for like outdoor recreation, it seems like you'd want them to work in a safe environment. And that'd be the first thing you do is like take care of this stuff, but it's not. So you have to, it's difficult moving in there solo because you have to really pay attention to where you're going to. Yeah. You have to really pay attention. You can't really look over your shoulder a lot. When you do that, you have to stop moving. You can't just glance over and keep walking because that place is a trip to the emergency room waiting to happen.
Generally, as well, when Joe and I are out in the woods, we have our own jobs that we perform because there's only 2 of us out there with all of our equipment and everything. We have our roles that we both play in that, and we each carry a certain amount of items and certain items that we are going to use. We have different loadouts.
Yeah.
So when it's one of us by ourselves, it's a little difficult. And I do most of the navigating when we're out there too.
Yeah.
So Joe has his GPS, and then we'll watch a little bit more of this.
And that sound, I don't even think that was like paranormal or cryptid relating. The wood sound was weird that I originally heard. And you can tell I don't really freak out that much when I hear it. But the wood on wood sound was pretty distinct, and that happened right before I turned my camera on. That's why you see my hands out like this, because I had just turned my camera back on. And I'm standing there going like, what is that? Is there somebody up there? And the microphone didn't pick up very well, but I step on some downed fencing, and it makes an old fence post kind of rock. And I'm going, that's kind of what I heard. Did something step on this wire fencing?
Yeah.
The people are saying that it sounds like a hog. It sounds like a bullfrog. I don't know.
Sounds like Tim the Toolman Taylor out into the woods.
But it was weird, and whatever it was, I didn't hear it move off, and it wasn't up there when I climbed that little incline there.
Yep.
So
Gary says, I would feel much better with my bodyguard, Jesse.
it's weird though, because usually I see the world through a very tiny little screen, because usually I'm filming, and I am literally just kind of trying to make sure I capture and document as much of the moment as I possibly can. So that's how I see the world. I see the world through a little 4-inch by 2.5-inch, 3-inch monitor screen. So when I'm out doing these solo ones, I have to have just like a chest mounted camera, because I can't mess with them.
Yeah.
A regular camera, I've got to be watching where I'm going to.
Somebody asked if you're going to have the Doom music underneath.
That actually be pretty cool.
Doom always scared the crap out of me, and when he died, is the worst.
Well, that background sound
is horrible.
The
original Doom was horrific.
Yeah, so
horrific.
But anyway, so yeah, that's why I do these, and the whole idea of this is to see if I experience anything weird when Jesse's not there. And I may or may not have experienced something weird on this.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you can play a little bit more of that if you want.
Yeah, and then we'll get into it. I just wanted to share this because I'm really, for some reason, I am so enthralled by the point of view framing and putting together of it. I just think it looks so cool as a point of view, because I was watching Joe. Joe actually did the editing on this and everything. So this is a Joe show production. But I was sitting there and I was watching him edit it, and I'm watching it and I go, this is really cool. I really like how it looks, and that camera, the way it is, everything has a good motion to it. I just love it. Love it, Joe. You did a good job on this.
Oki, thank you for that, my friend. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Oki.
Thank you. So.
Somebody's been traveling up that hill there. Blackthorn is so crazy. So that was an old
wood on wood sound.
That was an old roadbed over there, and this is up where we think that there was probably some of these settlements around there. This is near an old plantation site.
See me doing that. I had sweat rolling off me so bad. I mean, there was just constant
no
sweat
hint of breeze today.
This is pretty cool through here with these trees.
Forest.
Pause it here real quick. The reason why this looks so weird in there is that this area used to be inhabited, like we said, and there were several plantations, a lot of like smaller homesteads and farms through there. So some of the really large mature trees were trees that were around these homes at the time. And then when the homes were gone, various stages of rotting away or being, demolished down, The other trees, so that's why you see these very large, massive old growth trees and then like a lot of younger growth around it. Some of these bits of forest were cleared before, and it's just in the process of watching nature take it back over. So you'll be in an area that's extremely, extremely thick. And it was an area that was wooded back when there were people there still. And then an area like this, you can see it's a lot of like new growth trees with a few older trees. Unfortunately, this older tree got taken down by one of the 10 million storms that have come through over the last few months. But it's got a very kind of weird feel to it. Between that and the network of old roads that go through there, it's apocalyptic to kind of go through. Very apocalyptic. You're in there and you just feel like it's got a weirder feel than just being like a national forest.
Right.
Where you're just, it might be denser in a national forest, but it's a forest. It's just trees and stuff like that. Here, you'll be going along, you'll find remnants of old chimneys, you'll find, you know, the other stuff that we found that are glass bottles, terracotta, brick, and stuff like that, that is just kind of scattered throughout, that something in there is using to kind of decorate or do something symbolic to the environment.
Definitely interact with the environment. And there's such an old, strange, dark imprint on the land that is kind of echoed through time there. You don't have a lot of people that have been coming out there recently or even within the past 20, 30 years. The place has pretty much been abandoned for a very, very long time. And it seems like whatever is out there, every time I go out there, it's almost like it's desperate to communicate in a way. It's not one of these places that is frequented by people so much that there's always people in and out. We've never seen anybody down there. You know, we were even confronted a little bit by a DNR officer who asked what the heck we were doing down there. So that's one interesting thing about it is maybe, and this sounds kind of crazy, maybe if whatever is down there, whether it be paranormal, maybe it be some sort of specter, or whether it be one of these cryptids, whatever it is, do you think maybe it's just desperate to communicate with somebody at this point?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's Lady Wolf had said, how bad do you want that huge piece of quartz? Luckily, I didn't have Jesse with me, so I didn't have to carry anything out.
Joe had
other than myself, because like I said, I was holding up well until I went on that clearing for like the better part of an hour trying to get the Starlink up, and then just being in the direct sun like that, I heated up so much and I could never get cool after that. And then at that point I was like moving down to try to get some water because I had to filter some more water because I'd been guzzling it all day long. That's by far the hottest day of the year so far that we've been out in there. I mean, it was with the heat index, it was well over 100. It was insanely high humidity.
Not to mention, you do have that body of water there. The Blackthorn Lake is right there. So you do have a tiny, did you have even the tiniest bit of a breeze?
Oh, no, there was no bit of breeze at
all. Nope, it was
that.
just the bugs that are coming from the
And then I was loaded down because I had the Starlink thing. The whole idea was to try to go live from out there for a while.
Yeah.
But for summertime, we're going to have to probably do in the field live streams at night. There because again
we just got some lighter backpacks to use during the summer. We got a great deal on them too. Clearance backpacks. But we just got these backpacks because we were getting to the point last summer when we were out. Last summer we were out in Uwari actually, and we came live to the members, I think it was, and we were about to die. We were exhausted, we were dehydrated, and these summers are getting more and more brutal the longer we go on here.
The Uwaris, it was dry. There it was so humid. And like I said, when I hit like 5 or 6 miles on foot, I was just like, I'm tired and I'm pretty done right now. But normally I'd be like, I'll just take a break in a little while and I'll be all right. There I was just going, I'm tired right now, but in another 3 or 4 miles, I'm going to be damn near dead. And I just need to kind of go ahead and start moving back towards water. So I don't like doing this stuff in the middle of the summertime. It's actually easier to do this in like a really cold, bitter winter day. You
can only take so much off.
And it's just the other thing too is that you can carry more batteries, but your cameras overheat so much. And it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't really used the Starlink in the summertime like this. So I've got to come up with and I just had the battery bank hooked up to it like I've done a million times before.
And it was just too much for it, huh?
And I was even trying to like rake leaves and like branches and stuff on it to like kind of get it out of the direct sunlight or cover it up. And at that point, it was too hot. It wasn't working. So
yeah.
Our buddy Pork Chop, although associated with Australian Aborigines, the bull roar instrument they use to communicate with makes that deep buzzing sound far off. What I heard was that whoa, whoa, whoa. It didn't.
Netslop asked earlier, did you hear that with your ears?
At the time, it sounded natural, to be honest with you. It sounded, the wood sound is what got my attention, the wood on wood, which I didn't get because my camera was off. But when you see my hands there, I've turned the camera back on. And that's when I'm like, hello? And it didn't sound like a wood knock. It wasn't like it just sounded like two pieces of wood kind of smacking together.
When you had that
like a
moment,
dull thud kind of thing. So yeah.
You had that moment where you're like going, hello? You had like a little bit of there was a bit of a tremble in your voice. And
that's because that was heat. That wasn't really fear.
Okay, because I was like, oh my God.
That was heat and exhaustion.
I was like, are we about to see Joe get murdered here?
No, and then when I heard I'm just going, to me, I've got a feeling that's natural, but I just don't understand why I didn't see something when I got up there. Because even like a small animal scurrying away on those leaves, I would have heard it, you know.
Well, and you can see.
And it's open enough back through there too.
As you can see here, it's pretty open through here. We think that maybe this area was the old growth trees and then maybe possibly where they had cattle or something long ago. Again, this whole area was part of a big set of plantations out there. So back then it could have been way open, cleared out, because you don't have a lot of older trees up in there except for just a few, and those would be shade trees you would have for livestock probably.
So in that area, it's Miranda said she loves the stick structure I found.
That was bizarre.
Very bizarre. Now in that area, what we've in Blackthorn, and you put some of that in the video you've already released, right? The constant finding triangles and pyramids.
Yes. The last episode I did, there were several triangles in that. There were also that large quartz pyramid triangle that we found on top of a stump there.
So whatever's in there, and we found two places where it looks like something's like napping stone, like shaping stone. But somebody or something's in there, and it's just triangular and pyramid shaped rocks that have been shaped that we find everywhere on tops of like stumps and trees, on top of the grass or pine needles on the ground, meaning it had just been, and nothing's rotted underneath it, meaning it had just gotten placed there recently. I found a glass triangle that something had taken an old pane of glass and very carefully chiseled it into a triangle shape. I probably couldn't have done that if you'd given me 100 window panes and a year to do. I probably could not have done it like what I found there, but so we keep finding triangles and pyramids there and we don't know what it means, but it's to the point now where you can't deny it. We keep finding it. I find a few smaller like pyramid and triangular shaped rocks there, but I find this, and I'm just going through, we do most of our traveling through an old series of roads that's in there.
Yeah.
A, it's easier to move through, and B, we don't have to worry about the old wells, because again, a lot of these wells they're open. They're just covered with debris. So if you step on them, you're falling down.
Yeah.
However deep that well is.
Nothing's marked at all.
Yeah. So, and the constant barbed wire, although I started finding some of those weird barbed wire booby trap type things that are scattered on the road.
And this is our first year in Blackthorn. We've been investigating our North Georgia area, I want to say, 5 years now?
Yeah.
We've been working in the North Georgia area for about 5 years now, but this is our first year in Blackthorn. We just found Blackthorn in last late fall is when we found Blackthorn. And so we are not familiar with how it is in the summer yet. So I guess Joe got a good lesson.
I'm brutally
on that,
familiar how it is in the summer
by
now.
doing this. But we're not accustomed to how it is. We don't really even have a good assessment on the baseline on it yet. As many times as we've been out there.
We haven't even scratched the surface of the landmass out there.
We're still trying to do our mapping of the land right now.
It's you have to move so slowly through there because of all the environmental pitfalls that you run across.
Yeah.
But so I've moved off the road and I'm kind of move up to the, and I'm keeping watch where I'm at on GPS and everything like that. But yeah, I come across this weird. It's not a tree structure because it's made with sticks. Can you find that and play it?
Yeah, I can find that.
But it is, and it's on the ground, and I just stumble across it. I kind of see it from maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 feet away. I see something that looks symmetrical.
Here it is.
So I walked over to it. I've used this term multiple times in the years that we've been doing this. It looks like some Blair Witch crap is what it looks like. It looks Blair Witchy.
Has anybody ever used the term witchcraft in
Witchcraft.
place of witchcraft?
But it is, and I'll draw Miranda, thank you for that. And
where the heck is it now?
but we'll show you the thing, and it's weird, but it's two symmetrical sticks that are there, and then in like a cross piece laid in it, and they're kind of stacked, and they've been there for a while because moss is kind of growing all over them, and the moss is like one piece on two different sticks. So it's been there like that for a while. And the center portion of it is it's such a symmetrical triangle that I'm going, in this area, I don't discount any triangular type shapes that I find now. There's some sort of pattern there. There's what they mean, I don't know. But at this point, it's undeniable. And I'm looking at this just going, somebody or something placed it like this. This was done. This didn't just fall like this off some trees. Yeah. Go ahead and play it real quick and let me take a look at it.
Because it's absolutely bizarre. I actually put it on.
Thank you for that, Sheila. We appreciate
you know what you have to do when Sheila does this. Oh, Sheila. All right. Thank you, Sheila. All right. So to check this out, I actually put this on the thumbnail of the video because I thought it was absolutely
it's weird, man. And I got a weird feeling when I found it, and I kind of was like I don't know why. It wasn't threatening, but I was on edge for the rest of the day.
Interesting.
Look how bizarre this is.
It's very interesting. That could be construed as a triangle, and I'm going to show you what's going on here. They're kind of woven in together. Let me move back here and get a bigger shot of this. The two side pieces like that are pretty much the same size. That's weird. I just got chills for some reason. I don't know why. I'm marking the spot on my GPS though. So was this done? Just create this pyramid shape in the middle of it? It's been here for a while. I mean, the moss has kind of grown over both pieces right there. So it's been here like this for a bit. Very weird. Actually, it's equidistant this way. Mark this.
Yeah, that is what a bizarre thing to find. And it looks so intentional. All of those sticks are about the same length. It looks insanely intentional.
And I just happened to glance that way. And that's what gets me is that I just stumbled across that one. And if I had been looking to my right instead of my left when I walked by through there, I wouldn't have noticed it. And I think I even say that later on. I think I included that part where I go, I could be walking past these all day long and just not stumble across them. It's the big area, and it's just weird because I'm looking at that, and I always caution on stick structures and tree structures because things like trees fall in the woods, branches fall on the woods, and you look at it and you go, there's no way that happened naturally. And if you stand there long enough, you'd go, well, I guess it did happen naturally.
I think what really changed our perspective on that is when we went out to an area that we've only teased at, an investigation area that we've only teased at, that we refer to as Devil's Mountain. We actually went out there with a witness, and that was probably one of our best going out and hanging out and talking to a witness and going through the woods with him. But he knows about, he worked for the Forest Service.
He has a degree in forestry.
He has a degree in forestry. But just going through the woods with him and him talking to us about, okay, this is why this makes no sense. Now this here, this makes sense. This is how this happened with this tree. You know, this event occurred with this fell like this, and that's perfectly natural. And then he'll look at something and go, I have no explanation for this whatsoever. And he was so well versed in.
Because I was actually challenging some of the stuff going, he would be like, well, look at this tree structure. And I'm like, it's strange looking, but trees fall. And sometimes they fall in what we perceive as patterns, but it's just sheer happenstance. It's just random. It's just chance. But we're looking for a pattern and we see a pattern. And he's like, well, it's kind of an uneducated opinion. And I'm going, I don't think you can argue that things fall. And then he's like, well, tell me how this is this is an elm. This is part of an elm. Do you see an elm within 200 yards of here? And I'm like, hell, I don't know.
You're like sitting there. You're like, I can't even tell you what an elm looks like.
And he's just, so then he starts taking us through trees that have apparently been pulled from like hundreds of yards away to be, placed in part of these like structures. And then when he really took the time to explain it to me, I walked away with like a real newfound understanding that some of this stuff, I was being overly critical on some of the stuff before.
Yeah.
And the little thing you found right there, it's not that big. It's none of those pieces are that massive, but it's laid out purposely. It's purposely done. That was arranged at a pattern on purpose. That was not just, they didn't just fall like that. And why it was done like that and why it's constantly pyramids and triangles in that area. Other areas we go into, we find X's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Some places we find X's in the box area. You guys have seen that
We
before.
do see consistent patterns in different areas. And so that has to lead you to believe that maybe they mean something to that area, because we're to the point where like, okay, if we see something that sticks out in the woods, we're going to go take a look at it. We're not just in Blackthorn and we're like, all right, I see an X. I'm not looking at it. I'm just looking for these freaking triangles.
We're looking for patterns, and it's
all we find are triangles.
Triangles, and pyramids.
Triangles.
Mostly stone, occasionally glass. Well, once glass. I can't say occasionally. One time we found a glass triangle, but I also I need to start paying more attention and kind of going off in random directions to see if there's more of these like stick triangles out there.
Yeah.
But it literally, and it might have just been because it looked Blair Witchy.
And you just went there to that location, to that particular spot randomly, which is what we usually do is we gotta just jet off into the woods. Usually you have my little intuition leading us places, but maybe some of that is.
No, I don't think it's intuition.
I
just think that there's more of them out there.
And you're just running into it.
And now I'm starting to run into them. I think that if the chances of me just running randomly into the only one out there are pretty low. I think that there's probably more out there. And this is just the first one that I've ran into.
Yeah.
Hunting for Hookers Outdoors. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, buddy. And then he followed that up with love seeing you guys together on investigations. The Solo Joe point of view stuff is very cool, though. Good job, dude. Thank you, buddy. So
we just do that to make you miss me.
Yeah. It's,
God, that was a thing. Yeah.
But it's so strange out there. And like I said, in North Georgia, we've got the area where it's X's in a box just laid on the ground. And usually if we experience something weird up in that area of North Georgia, the North Georgia mountains, we look around, we'll find one of those X's with like a box right around us.
Yeah.
We found that in our main North Georgia spot. We found that in Laurel Creek.
That's what basically ran us out of Laurel Creek,
Other areas.
The human interaction we had and then finding that. I think at that point we were just out,
Yeah. And then other areas we find like X's everywhere. A triangular stick shape on the ground And that's what's weird, because you've got to almost be up on it before you see it.
Yeah.
Because that was laid flat.
You can look at that video, and as you walk up to it, we can't even see it in the video whatsoever.
Mhm.
I was like, what is he doing when I was watching it? And you go up to it, and it's perfect.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's perfect. How often do you find something that perfect in nature like that creates these triangles?
Well, all right.
And we said that how many times in
Yeah.
Blackthorn that we find these strange arrangements, these tableaus, and they just could not be natural by the frequency in which we're finding them. And they're arranged. These things are
Well,
arranged.
Here's the thing, is that's not upright, so it's easy to overlook. It's wood, so they're going to rot away eventually. That one's old, you can tell, because the moss is growing over like the separate pieces. That was one continuous like growth of like moss on it that was growing over two pieces for it. So we've never been in an area. We've found bones in the trees there. We have found a hog skull and a hog jaw. We found deer bones in the trees. We have found broken glass and sharp metal in the trees.
You've been pelted in the face multiple times.
Almost hit possibly at the end of this with something. California Ryan, what's up, buddy? No work today. Glad to catch you. Hellbent Hollow Life.
Also, welcome back to the fold, California Ryan.
For the membership. And same thing, Sharon D. Member for 1 month. I'm new here and I enjoy the videos. Thank you so much for your support, Sharon. We are community supported with all of these investigations and things that we do. We don't have advertisers. We're not beholden to large corporate interests.
And I am
so
we're not in the pocket of the Chinese.
Yes.
We're so excited too. We've been doing a lot of working behind the scenes to really develop some new stuff, and this new point of view stuff is part of our new kind of lineup that we're doing. And give us feedback on it too, see if you guys like it. But we're always coming up with new and exciting ways to film this content and bring it to you guys. After I'm done with this major super secret squirrel project that I'm working on, we are so excited to show you guys all of the other stuff that we're going to debut on the channel and bring out for you guys. I know it's been kind of few and far between over the past couple of months here. It's because I'm working on this project, but we have so many cool new things that we're bringing out for y'all.
Yeah.
Are you not stoked?
I am stoked.
Stoked.
So anyway, so you guys just let us know what you think about that.
I got some stuff started.
You got some stuff started here. All right, let's see what else we got.
Although this is funny. Surviving Strange, not in the pocket of big cryptid. All right,
So,
go ahead.
Michael Tovar, I wonder if it's cult stuff or Sasquatch markers. Skeptical of tree structures too, but if not human, man, what is it? I don't think it's people, because something's also moving those giant heavy rocks back in there.
Yeah, you have to think about that.
When you,
unless these are separate entities that we're talking about.
And
here.
some of the stuff we found in the trees, I've looked at and I'm just going, it's 30 feet up in the air, and the tree's not that. I don't know how some of the stuff's ended up where it's at. It's not people, unless they're airlifting like a bucket truck back in there to like do some of this stuff. It's bizarre. Some of the stuff is not out, like that little thing that we just showed you with the triangle. That's not outside the capabilities of one person to do.
Yeah.
But then when you start putting it in tandem with the other stuff that I just look at and go, you would need a group of guys. What I always say, it's autistic power lifters out there.
Yes,
it's people who are insanely strong, who just like stacking very large rocks, one on top of the other, on top of the other. So
there's honestly nothing like your hyperbolic
when I tried to just debunk something like that.
Yes.
So
like the LBL was like escaped kangaroo or a giant bat.
So anyway, let's move off of that.
Yeah.
So
let's get into the topic today. Let's talk about some Bigfoots. Let's talk about some Dogman.
And it was like a recent conversation on our Discord that people were talking about that old trope of Sasquatch and Dogman being like at odds with each other, and not even just like occasionally like running in, but like almost like an ongoing conflict between the two. And I never
like as warring sides.
Yeah. Like it's not just like,
So I think where that trope is most prevalent, that everybody can really make a direct reference to, is the LBL.
Mhm.
You will hear that all the time. That's something that's been repeated and repeated and repeated. A lot of time without a lot of evidence, just it seems like it's sort of circular logic that there's Dogman in the north and Bigfoot in the south, and that they war over the LBL.
One real quick. Tracy had said, I've seen stack rocks years ago. Sasquatch never crossed my mind. Smaller little stacks of rocks, I think those are people.
Yeah.
We're finding really big, like
Heavy boulders.
big, heavy rocks that have been like moved around and sometimes stacked and changed positions. And I mean, they're heavy. They're big. So not the little rocks, because everybody sees those at like creeks and everything like that. That's just people. Well, I mean, I can't swear that, but I would not really look at that and think Sasquatch.
Also,
myself.
don't do that when you're by a creek. It
Yeah,
really
don't do it.
disrupts the wildlife.
But
and
it's
their habitat.
it's
The more you know.
the ones that we're talking about are really freaking heavy. So I just wanted to kind of address that real quick. But anyway, yeah. So LBL, that's the trope. That's what we first thought when we first went there.
And
Is that
that's what we heard. That's what we heard from when we were doing research on this before we actually got boots on the ground out there, that was kind of the trope. It was that there's some warring factions of Sasquatch and Dogman.
and they've
that
got like a
dividing line.
and they've got like a no man's land in the middle, and
And
stay
they
on either side.
understand
Yeah.
they understand the boundaries
Yeah.
of the dividing boundaries, I guess.
Well, but here's the deal: is that on the north end, and the cemetery that is next to where the 1982 massacre supposedly happened.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we were there in the wintertime. We found what looked like a Sasquatch track line going through that cemetery. And then in the south side, where the Bigfoot are supposed to be at, well, that's where Martin Grove's, counter attack, whatever you want to call it, happened at.
And Martin Grove's encounter throws a whole other monkey wrench into that whole LBL Dogman Bigfoot war dynamic.
Paul Sherman, thank you for that.
Thank you, Paul Sherman.
Late to the party, a little something for the cause. The cause will take it. Thank you. But it's so like I put some thought into that this week, and it's people are just like they're natural born enemies. You know what I'm saying? And there's just conflict.
We got a lot of references to Martin's account in here. I've got them marked. So.
But a conflict every time two members of and we're going to refer to them as separate species.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal. They don't necessarily have to be earthbound species for this to happen. They don't necessarily have to be a breeding population, and they live in the woods and they have babies in the woods and they die in the woods, and that's just where they are. If you
could this be the battlefield Earth?
But
I took you out of it with that.
No, it's just that's the common trope. And to me, I don't think that's the case. Right. I don't think that there's like interspecies warfare going on where it's just
ancient factions.
Group of Dogman, group of Bigfoot. They're going to just go at it. Now there might be hostilities between like individuals. And maybe here's the deal. Maybe they just don't cross each other's paths that often. Mm-hmm. Doing research for this, just kind of like looking through it, there's podcasts and there's some witness accounts and everything like that talk about people witnessing a Dogman and a Bigfoot like going at it.
Yeah.
But even now, again, you've got to admit, as far as like physical evidence of both goes, that's pretty light. There's more physical evidence of Sasquatch.
I guess we would have to establish that they exist before we establish their behavior of going to war.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same token, though, a creature trying to stay hidden, and let's even just kick Sasquatch out of the equation for a second. Let's just focus on Dogman. Dogman sightings are pretty rare.
Yes.
Compared to Bigfoot,
absolutely.
When you look at like a Bigfoot sighting, mm-hmm. and even if you say, well, maybe some of those Bigfoot sightings are misidentified Dogman. Maybe they saw Dogman, but it got reported as a Bigfoot. Even if you take that into account,
they're still outsized.
Dogman activity is far rarer.
Yeah. And
credible Dogman activity
is even rarer.
But
it seems like they also, and we've discussed this before, it seems like those two sightings and those two creatures are so different from one another. It seems like there is a paranormal, spiritual, demonic aspect to the Dogman, while it seems like Bigfoot, even though there are paranormal and supernatural things that occur around Bigfoot sightings, it seems it is more akin to a natural animal.
It's the thing is that with Dogman, they're usually sighted solitary, occasionally in pairs. Bigfoot's mostly sighted at solitary, although you always hear about this clan and the family unit, and it's more of like a tribal structure. And I don't know how much of that's true and how much of that's wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But people seem like they know the social structure very well. And I'm going, I don't even know. If you put a gun to my head, I can't even say what exists and what doesn't exist, let alone having an entire social structure of something that's not proven figured out. But my thing is that with Dogman especially, it seems like they only pop their heads out to terrorize people, and they don't really leave a lot of physical stuff behind. We have found some really oversized canine prints.
They don't have a Dogman turd in a museum.
Exactly. They don't have a Dogman turd.
I'll tell you that right now.
They got that going for them.
As I seen the Sasquatch.
But they seem more elusive. They, like you said, it seems like they have more of a supernatural quality, and they only come out to like really maybe attack or terrorize.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add in that there's like an organized conflict going on, the ability to remain hidden is lessened a great deal by that. And to my knowledge, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm unaware of it, and I couldn't find it doing some research for this show, no one's ever come across the remnants of the battlefield. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one of the things that goes along with missing 411 that just kind of dawned on me, is that when people go missing and people go, oh, a bear got him or a mountain lion got him, one of the ways that people disprove that explanation is nature's messy when it attacks.
Yeah.
There's blood, there's tissue. In the case of people, there'd be cloth, ripped up clothing or whatnot. There's going to be remnants of the violent act that happened there. And you would think that would be more so. You've seen two cats go at it, and just the amount of fur flying and everything like that. And like you hear it and you walk over and you go, ton of fur over here, man. Two cats.
And that was just a small feline melee.
Sometimes they void themselves in the panic of what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So there'll be like scat or urine. But as far as I know, no one's ever come across, because I think if they had, we would have hair samples from it. You would go, well, there's this type of hair here and this type of hair here. It looks like two things went at it. There's blood over here.
If there's some great battle, there's no Bigfoot out there with a pair of tweezers picking up every little
There's no cleanup team coming afterwards. And you would think that the chance of a body being left and then ultimately discovered would be greater as well after this. It just seems like unavoidable conflict between these two, and I don't know, they call them a species or entities. Let's just say species. Between these two species, unavoidable conflict.
Yeah.
They're going to fight. They're fighting over resources, territory, just because they don't like each other's faces, whatever it is at that point. That conflict does not lend itself towards the fact that they have basically stayed hidden so well and so long at that point. The fact, too, that, like Cole says here, I live 15 miles from the south side of LBL. It is my contention that I have both Dogman and Sasquatch in the area where I live. You would think that, let's just thought experiment time. Let's say that they are either or. You could do an either or. These are undiscovered species here, and they're here in our reality, on our world, whatever you want to say, all the time. Again, I always say they're living in the woods, having babies in the woods, they're dying in the woods, they're just here. Okay, there's a breeding population of both here. Or they're coming here from somewhere else, and they're here for a while, and then they go back to wherever they're from, or they go somewhere else. So they're only here temporarily. And I think that's what's going on, because that's why we can't find them officially. And that's why a lot of people don't see them, and they're relatively elusive. But if they are a breeding population of both of these things, there's a thing that we know about as far as like regular animals in the woods. It's like called competitive exclusion. And it's when two species are in the same area competing for the same resources. they can't really coexist. One will eventually outcompete the other one. And one of a couple of things happens. Either the one that's being outcompeted goes extinct, if it's a broad enough, coexistence that's going on. You could say that some people think that's what happened to Neanderthals, that Homo sapiens just outcompeted them. They were able to get the resources better than what Neanderthals could, and that's why they went away. Or the species that's being outcompeted will basically go to another environment, okay? And you can do that if they're only brushing up against one another, like here and there. But if it's a case where one species is everywhere and the other species is everywhere, like Homo sapiens,
or if humans are always seeking to annihilate the others, that's a motivation too. If they say you have that factor there, that it's not just chance encounters, maybe there is some sort of blood feud, and that they are seeking to.
Well, I think what you go into is that if there's breeding populations, the population density is extremely, extremely low. So maybe the numbers are so low and the populations don't expand for whatever reason, like any other animal out there.
Yeah.
Their population will grow to fill the environment, Take deer, for example, in the American Southeast right now. Deer populations have exploded. Food sources are everywhere. There's not as much hunting that goes on. There's not as much natural predation that goes on. So the population expands.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Sasquatch, Dogman, those populations don't expand. Those populations stay extremely limited. So maybe they don't really brush up against each other so often. Maybe it's very rare for one to cross the other one's path. Maybe they're just elusive to each other as they are to us at this point. Maybe a dogman seeing a Bigfoot is almost like us seeing a Bigfoot. It just happens once in a blue moon, And a Bigfoot.
Do you think dogmen have podcasts where they talk about their Bigfoot encounters?
Probably. Now
they're not podcasts; they're dogcasts.
They're dogcasts. Anyway, that's actually pretty good, Jesse. But
trademark.
Copyright. That's gonna be copyrighted tonight. Dogcast.
Copyright. Hellbent.
So it's.
I keep hearing such a weird noise, and I don't. Okay, sorry.
So
I'm being haunted by the dog man. It's because of the Dogcast. Dogcast 2K25.
But it's.
Sorry, I took us off track there.
I think when you get into this and you start talking about it, and they do. I think it comes to the point where you just don't have enough data.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument for or argument against, but my biggest argument against it is hostilities lead when you've got two large, and let's just refer to Bigfoot as a predator. A Bigfoot's probably an omnivore.
Yes.
An omnivore, it's probably like a bear,
Eats a lot of berries.
Yeah, eats pretty much anything it can. And we would assume that Dogman, it has been seen multiple times eating roadkill sometimes. Yep. Sometimes you've seen it eating prey that it's apparently hunted down.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people. Same thing could be said about Sasquatch at this point.
I've not heard of any Sasquatch encounters where there's scavenging going on.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that active hunting is what they engage in, according to a lot of these accounts. But at Dogman, there's been lots of scavenging reports about Dogman.
Yeah. So you could come up with pros and cons on why it's possible or not possible or whatnot. But for me, it always goes back to, let's just call them both predators. Two large predators. Predators don't really fight a lot because, especially other predators, because even the winner might walk away with wounds that are going to basically prohibit it from living much longer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
A predator's got to be able to chase and kill prey. And if you're severely wounded, you ain't doing that. So that's why there's a lot of intimidation tactics between predators, bears rearing up on their hind legs, trying to present a larger, image to its rival there at that point.
86 also mentions maybe it's like lions and hyenas.
Well, lions and hyenas they are two predators within a same ecosystem. There's some differences. They do have competition, but there's enough differences in them that and look this up real quick, but there's enough differences to them
I'm struggle busting over here.
Struggle busting, but
Sorry, I inhaled my water. Well, hyenas are known to be scavengers.
Yeah, well, it's my AI overview for that is they don't always exhibit complete competitive exclusion due to subtle differences in behavior and habitat use, but they are intense competition. Maybe that's going on. Maybe the fact that Bigfoot being omnivorous, they can also,
that variety of diet has allowed them to not go in direct competition in order to probably force an elimination of
maybe there's
the
ebb and flow of it. Maybe if like a large enough population of Sasquatch move into an area, the dogmen in that area retreat back out.
Or maybe if development of human beings in an area changes the situation, changes the ecosystem, maybe that changes the scales.
Yeah. Bettina, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Bettina. Thank you. And then Kim Armstrong, thank you for that, Kim. Greatly appreciate it. But I think that what it runs into is that we could go back and forth all day long on why it's possible and why it's not possible. But my thing is that I think that if it was happening, think of the size, the power, the ferocity, just the physical abilities, and a fight like that would get real ugly real quick. Okay, would get extremely ugly extremely quickly, and I think that there'd be trace left that people would find, unless it's taken place in, again, like I said, if it's taking place in extremely remote areas, well, people on podcasts claim to see this stuff. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like there would be, again, I know I'm circling back again, but two cats fighting, you come up on that spot later on, you hear it, and if you walk outside to see what's going on, you see where they fought at. There's biological traces of the fight that took place, even if neither one of them are really seriously injured. But with this, I think that there would be really severe injuries. I think there'd be death. And I think that you would be able to just go, this is where it happened at. This is what's left. There's just no cleanup teams coming in for it. I think that there's something going on beyond that. I think that we're oversimplifying the situation, and we're thinking, well, they should fight because they're both ferocious and they're different, so they should fight.
Or perhaps are they above and elevated over this, that this just shouldn't happen at all?
Maybe there's a hierarchy to it. Maybe one of them,
an established hierarchy.
Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's an established hierarchy. Maybe there's like lions and hyenas, a lion and a hyena one-on-one, it's no contest. But you get enough hyenas in, or maybe you get an exceptionally weak lion or an old lion or an injured lion, and you get enough hyenas, that dynamic changes. Maybe it's similar to like that, you know?
Grizz has a good parallel here. Bears and wolves live in the same habitat, competing for the same resources, rarely fight each other.
Here's the deal, though. Wolves are completely carnivorous. Bears are more omnivorous. Mm-hmm. And bears have the ability to eat fish. I see on that, but there's enough divergence that they can coexist for it. Two large bipedal creatures like this that are now, again, here's the only thing too is that I don't think there's constant conflict going on. I think conflict might happen every once in a while.
Conflict arises when it arises
on an individual basis. Friction. And this is all a thought experiment too. That's true. I think that conflict would arise on an individual basis, but as far as like a species on species conflict,
right?
I don't see that happening, and I think that there's something more that we're missing here. Maybe one is superior to the other somehow, not even just physically, but like some sort of hierarchy is in place. Maybe they're both subservient to something else that we don't know about right now. If you take the Martin Groves account, he thinks that
they were working in tandem.
But
it seemed like in his account that the Sasquatch had some sort of control over them, like they were pets in a way. Not that they were equals and working in tandem as a cooperative group, but the hierarchy existed. Like you mentioned earlier, the Sasquatch were actually higher in that hierarchy, and they had some sort of control over what the Dogman did.
And I can't think did we thank Alan for this? Alan, if not, we're thanking you again. Alan. Thank you, buddy. So maybe it's this. Maybe it's, I'm gonna tell you what my gut instinct is, my gut thought on it. What I really think is happening is that
Give me that belly brain.
both species, there might very well be very small breeding populations of Sasquatch here on Earth. When I say that, I mean on Earth, like our reality, whatever. I don't think they originated here. I think they came from somewhere else. And I think that a lot of the ones that people see have gone somewhere else. I think they blip into where we're at sometimes, do their thing, and then blip out. And now there might be some areas, and the only reason I say that is because everybody, we often have been on like a mountaintop looking out, and it's just mile after mile after mile after mile of just uninhabited wilderness. And that's when I go, something could maybe stay out here if it was intelligent. If it was intelligent and there was a imperative drive to like remain undetected by us, it could do it. Can't make any mistakes. It's not a monkey. There's something going on here, but it's possible. But I think the vast majority of Sasquatch as well is coming here from somewhere else and then going back to somewhere else. Mm-hmm. There might even be more than one thing going on that we're all lumping under the Sasquatch thing. Okay, there might be some that are more flesh and blood. There might be some that are more spiritual. There might be some things that just present themselves as Sasquatch, but they have no commonalities with them at all.
Now, I do have a thought experiment for you.
Okay.
Now, I know.
Let me finish this thought.
Go ahead.
You hit me with it. Dogman.
Mm-hmm.
There's no breeding population of dogman here.
Right.
I feel comfortable to say that. Okay. There's something else going on with dogman. There's something else going on. They do not have a permanent breeding population in our world and our reality. They're coming from somewhere else. They might be, I hate to use this trope, they might be demonic. They might be a completely spiritual construct. They might be something from another world that has the ability to take on a physical form when they get here and then leave. Okay. And there's something even more than Sasquatch. The thing that always gets me is we talked about it earlier. There's multiple reports of people coming around the corner in their cars, and there's a dogman on the side of the road eating roadkill. Linda Godfrey reported on it. Multiple people have reported that. And they knew the car was coming. They wanted to be seen for whatever reason. They're stationary. They're down eating, looking at you. This was a presented encounter. They're presenting themselves to you for whatever reason, to make you scared, flip you out, do whatever. Those things are not here all the time. So maybe there's just no conflict because it's so rare. Or maybe when they choose to appear or choose to come into our world, making sure they don't run into other equally dangerous things is part of the criteria that they choose when to show themselves. Okay. All right. I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm going to come into this reality right now and I'm going to scare the hell out of those people over here that are camping. There's 3 or 4 Bigfoot in the woods nearby. Not doing it this time. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a conscious effort to not run into one another because maybe there's no upside to it. Maybe there's no upside.
Good point about that. If I can find it here, my friends. Todd Downey actually said this. Animals won't take the risk of injury most of the time. Mm-hmm. One laceration and it's like.
And I think that's what has happened is I think that maybe if some of these witness stories of conflict are true, everything just went wrong. Yeah. Or you've got one that's exceptionally bad-tempered and the other one is maybe bad-tempered and they decide to go at it. But usually, like I said, predators have got to be able to catch that next prey animal. And an injury, sometimes even a minor injury, is going to decrease their chances of being able to do that. Yeah. So here's the other thing too, is that maybe some of these creatures, maybe the people who have seen conflict between these two are seeing what they were supposed to see. A lot of times any of this activity, UFO activity, Bigfoot activity, paranormal activity, Fae activity, a lot of it seems performative. It seems like it's a performance that's going on. You're seeing what they wanted you to see. It seems kind of ludicrous. It seems kind of absurd, but I saw what I saw, Maybe it's something along those lines. Maybe there's some sort of theater of the bizarre going on sometimes with this stuff. And part of that theater is two big, crazy, scary looking things duking it out while you're standing there on the edge of the clearing looking on with like horror. So I don't know.
So my thought experiment comes here from Christopher Lineberry's comment. Maybe they have different spiritual beliefs that are at odds. Some are evil and some are good. You know, like God for some and the devil of others. That's what I was going to say.
Mhm.
If you listen to some people who will talk about Sasquatch and Dogman, a lot of times Sasquatch is portrayed as the gentle, kind, benevolent forest brother.
That's the case.
But we are just going to put that out there that is kind of how they are portrayed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
At the same time, Dogman is portrayed as a demonic entity.
And I think that is true.
You know,
So, yeah.
and so again, you have a war on a spiritual level here with these accounts, with people's beliefs. Whether or not any of this is true or even feasible or even possible, you have to kind of entertain it for a second.
Well,
this could be a possibility, even if you don't believe that Sasquatch is a benevolent forest brother. Could there be something there that could have more of a spiritual connection to it?
If you look at Western fairy folklore, you've got the one group which are evil. They're just flat out evil. The Unseelie Court is what they're called, and they're evil. Okay, and they're at odds with the Seelie Court. Now, the Seelie Court's not necessarily evil, but its actions can be construed that way sometimes because humanity doesn't really factor very importantly to them. Okay, the most you can kind of like hope for is like kind of an amused ambivalence.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say that I think that if something like that is going on, I don't think when you get down to it that any of this stuff is like our friends. Okay, I don't think any of this stuff that people interpret it sometimes. Just because you maybe walk by a copperhead and it chose not to strike you at that moment doesn't mean that copperhead has warm and fuzzy feelings for you.
Right.
Okay. It just decided not to hurt you at that moment. So it's
Chris, every time we talk about copperheads, Joe and I are walking through the woods, and we're especially in the UR. There's when we were filming some stuff in the UR recently, and it's just me going, cucumbers. Cucumbers.
If you the copperheads give a smell of like cucumber,
but it smells like Bath and Body Works
cucumber stuff.
Yeah.
So
Hunting for Hookers said the LBL was before my time here. Did you guys see something there? I'm gonna go back and watch. We had 2 series on the LBL. Three, I guess, series on the LBL.
3 times there, we've seen something that doesn't fall into the Dogman camp or the Sasquatch camp, and it's happened so quick. We can't get on camera, and if anybody goes, you didn't get on camera, it didn't happen, so be it. I don't really care.
But in our first expedition there, we got a thermal of what appears to be a large canine. We both saw whatever this is, the dark shadow.
And
figure.
we talk about it when it comes up, but we've never tried to like really
delve into what it is
or push it is because we don't have evidence on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know with what I saw. I don't know if you can get evidence on it. I don't know if I don't know if it's fully physical. It's at least partially physical. I don't know what it is. And maybe some of these things are responsible for some of the Dogman sightings down there. It didn't look canine, but yeah, we've seen some weird stuff in the LBL.
We're getting lambasted here. Hellbent holler, knife check. Knife check.
I put mine down here.
For the love of God, knife check. All right, everybody.
And we may be phasing knife check out.
We do this every time the death threats roll in.
No, it's just it's YouTube is starting to get very weird on stuff like that. Certain words are getting people kicked off with no warning and certain things. So we might be phasing this out, unfortunately. But I've got a Japanese style sakamori that our buddy Denim Devil, who is the official armorer of Hellbent Holler. That's where we get a lot of our knives from. He gets them and gets tired of them, and they end up coming our way. But just a traditional Japanese tanto with a cord wrap grip.
Just the grip is so amazing on
the
that
grip is
thing.
awesome on it. And what's even cooler is because he's a baller. This one,
shot caller, 20-inch
this
blades.
This one comes in a
presentation box.
Presentation box. Pretty cool.
Velvet lined.
Yes, indeed.
Today for knife check, I have a Winkler Knives dagger. You have a sculpted G10 handle on that. It's black on black. Both sides are sharpened. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Technically, it's supposed to be a boot knife, I believe. But
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's
yeah,
cool.
the clip on it's a boot knife clip, but it's way too big for me to do that. But it's the perfect size for me. It's grippy. It's perfect. We actually purchased this when we went to Boone, North Carolina on a vacation, and we ended up going and filming the Brown Mountain Lights for the very first time.
Yeah.
So that is my Brown Mountain Lights knife.
Not today's like, so question the woo with facts and the comment gets buried these days. Super bummed. I don't know what that's in reference to.
He is referencing, he was talking about portals are not possible. And we need to probably abandon the portal idea. I think I marked that up here. But that's what that's
don't care what's
to.
possible or not possible. I'm still standing by what we saw in the North Georgia mountains. And I don't think that was like the burning light thing. I don't know. I think whatever was there came out of that light, that was little figures around there. So I am not gonna, I will probably, regardless of what somebody tells me is right or not right or possible or not possible, I have to trust my lying eyes on that one. So
how dare you?
How dare you? But
we don't know what it is. You never know what it is.
We haven't even talked about portals tonight, though. What is?
I think you mentioned the possibility that they
come out of like another dimensional type thing, like they come from like another reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
again, when you're having thought experiments, you can discuss all these things.
So let's see what else we have got.
Larry Sharp smells cucumbers around his house a lot. Larry Sharp, you gotta watch
Rent a
out.
crew. Could Dogman be a version of a hellhound? I think that the black dog phenomenon, shucks and barguests and everything like that, those spectral black dogs that factor in really heavily with Western European folklore. I think there's a lot of parallels between that and the modern Dogman phenomenon, almost so that could be an evolution of the same phenomenon. If you look at a lot of the qualities that go into, including how many times black dogs were just seen and it was a very frightening experience, but no physical harm came, and how many times an actual physical attack happened. More often than not, they were seen and it was just a very terrifying experience. It seemed like their whole purpose was to frighten people. And, that same thing could be said about Dogman to a certain extent. So there's a lot of commonalities between it. It's just that, and even some of the spectral black dog, it wasn't the common theme with it, but there were sometimes seen that they were upright or they had the ability to stand upright.
Yeah.
Those were usually more along the lines of like, a lot of like witches' familiars would be animals that would stand on hind legs that normally wouldn't do that. So anyway, see what else we got here. We're wrapping it up in a few minutes here, but yeah. And it's just, it's interesting. I as far as like the conflict between the two, I can't say it doesn't happen all the time, but I just don't think I don't think it's a hard and fast rule. I don't think that it's something that's like ongoing and that's basically just like two tribes going to war at that point. I just don't see that happening at this point.
Jeff Rawls asked if he can upload a video on the Discord. Jeff, I think you can. I think I have the boosted version of Discord, so I believe you can upload a video on there. Give it a go and let us know. And Darcy Parks has joined us in the chat today, by the way. Our boy Darcy Parks.
Darcy Parks.
He's trying to get on the Discord. Darcy, if you could email me, I'm going to send you an invite link to the Discord, and just click on that and then just go through that. And if you have any questions, I know that Sploot can help you with Discord questions, and Irish, right?
Yeah,
Better with the Irish?
Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll get you on there. We will get you on there. We will point you in the right directions and get you there. So you email me, hellbentholler@gmail.com, Darcy, and I'll get you a link, and we'll get you on the Discord and joining the fun with the rest of us.
All right, let's see what else we have got here. But anyway, like I said, I'm just curious as to what other people think. And you know what? Here's the deal. What's always so frustrating about these like topics are you can, for every witness account story or experience that you have that states one thing, if you look long enough, you'll find one that states the exact opposite. So that's why I don't want to say that there's never any sort of conflict between the two of them.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just like the creatures. I think it's few and far between.
Yeah.
And I think just like a lot of the stuff that is involved with these creatures, we never know. Maybe, you know what, maybe there is one of the theories that we came up with, like, and other people have talked about it as well, is, you know how a lot of times when people encounter these creatures, they talk about the stench and the smell, and they appear sometimes blacker than black, and they seem to soak the light up. You know, some religious traditions talk about how when spiritual entities will manifest in reality, they're basically pulling the building blocks of their own bodies together. They were intangible, but when they become corporeal, they pull basically from the environment to build a body.
Yeah.
And it starts rotting pretty much instantly as soon as it's built.
That's fascinating.
And that's what kind of leads you to have that smell and everything like that. And that's also why there's no physical evidence, because when they're done with whatever they're doing,
dissipate back into the
it
environment.
dissipates back into the environment. So that could go towards why there's no bodies found. So if that's the case, if there is conflict going on and the bodies are temporary constructs, maybe those bodies just kind of, that's why there's no evidence. That's why there's no body, because it just, maybe they're killing each other in droves, and then the bodies are just kind of just dematerializing back into the building blocks that they were before these things were made. So,
and on that note,
all right, see what else we got here. Anybody got anything before we wrap it up? Little weird thought experiment for tonight, y'all. Just kind of curious.
I think it's really important to have these discussions. It's a lot of fun.
Indeed,
it's a lot of fun to
so
speculate on this stuff, kind of organize our thoughts on it. And then when we get to the point, say hypothetically, we get to the point where we discover, okay, these things are absolutely real. We have proof of them. Then we've already kind of laid some building blocks on developing some things, and we can actually start thinking in these directions. You know, I think it's always good to have discussions, debates, and just kind of open your mind to the possibilities of what could be out there.
Last one here. Aaron, do you guys have any long-term effects from the infrasounds you've been through? I don't think we've been hit with infrasound. We've only detected.
I shouldn't have marked that,
I know.
but we'll keep it brief.
We have the ability to monitor for infrasound, and the only time we've really caught it is when we heard something vocalizing from like a distance, as if it was communication. So we've been hit with something, but it ain't infrasound. It's either something electromagnetically based or something even more exotic than that. But anyway, so what we've got going on here is Jesse's finalizing this project up. We've got a bunch of blackthorn footage to bring out to you all. I am going to, weather permitting, try to do a live from the field sooner rather than later. The last couple times it's been difficult to do between the storms and then now the heat. Even if the body's willing, it seems like the tech can't stand up to it. But we're going to try to get something out for it. So kind of keep your notifications on and whatnot.
And I'm cranking away on this. As soon as this project, the super secret squirrel project, is done, and then all Hellbent breaks loose.
All Hellbent breaks loose,
my friends.
So
I'm stoked. I'm excited. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, just a cool little show.
I think it was a lot of fun.
I didn't even go into like the real talking about how, like, you've got things called character displacement, where one species that's competing with another will eventually evolve to not be in direct competition. And you know what? Maybe that's what's happening.
Oh, because so it would evolve to the point that it takes itself out of competition.
Takes it out of competition.
Oh,
so,
that's interesting.
And that's why you get like divergent traits like that. But there's
now, here's the thing too. We are discussing this in terms of Bigfoot and Dogman, but these are concepts that apply to known species. So,
well, I think there's a thing called metapopulation theory, which is where they're not in constant competition. And I think if anything's going on, that's what's happening, because the numbers are so rare.
Yeah.
They're so sparsely populated that they're not always, that's not like you've got 100 dogmen in the woods and 100 Bigfoot in the woods. They're trying to eat the same deer.
Yeah.
They're trying to, like, you know, drink the same water. They're trying to do everything like that.
They're trying to poop and have me step in it.
That's the big competition.
That's the biggest competition
That's the
of them
biggest
all.
competition of them all.
They want my 5'11" tread, number one. Okay.
All right,
Number
guys.
two, actually. Okay, we're done. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Hellbent Live. Don't forget, we are speaking at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee at the end of July. Get your tickets for that. Book your hotel rooms. I don't know what the partner hotel is. I have attempted to get that information. I haven't yet, but all the hotels are really close to the convention center down in Gatlinburg. So if you book down there, you will be near all the action. So come out and hang out with us at that conference. This is the first time we'll be speaking at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference, and we're very excited. We're going to be discussing the Southern Sasquatch. So we are excited about talking about that and gracing the stage. I don't think they realize what they've done here.
No, they don't.
But God bless them. We are also speaking at the Tennessee Wild Man and Cryptid Con in August. So keep an eye out for that. That is in McMinnville, Tennessee. So if you can't make one, try to make the other and hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And those are the only conferences or events we are doing this year.
Probably next year too, man. I don't know.
We say that.
We ain't got the time. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us
thank
tonight.
you so much for joining us. Have a good week. Try to stay cool out there and don't find yourself caught up
in the Bigfoot Dogman.
In the Bigfoot Dogman War. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Good night, Hellbenders. And God bless.